Well, good afternoon. This is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on a very pleasant Friday afternoon. And like you, I'm sure, I am locked down. Well, not locked down, but self-isolating. And luckily, there is lots of work to do in the garden. And of course, this is a perfect time of year. You know, if we're in this situation, and you know, what I'm thinking is that the Prime Minister Trudeau has come out and said that there will be benefits for people for 4 months who are self-employed and so on and so forth, who can't go to work or who are affected, by this situation. So I just can't see that the self-isolating is going to end, on April 7th. I think at the very least we've got another 14 days of self-isolation and possibly 28 days ahead of us, because if the peak is supposed to be in 45 days, that was about 7 days ago. I mean, we're still nowhere near from seeing the worst of this, and so it is an excellent opportunity for you to think about putting a garden in your own back garden, or ways that you can get around this if you happen to live in an apartment. You can do balcony gardening, you can grow under lights, you can do wall gardening if you have a sunny south facing window and turn over that area to like a kind of greenhouse situation. There are lots and lots of things. Buckets, you can garden in buckets, you can do things in sacks, all kinds of containers. You can hang things. Tomatoes will hang from a balcony, for example. Anything that you can do to supplement your food, because when you look at the broader picture of what is going on, for example, in California and Mexico, the migrant workers are not being allowed in to work on the farms, so planting is going to be delayed. The same thing will be happening up in Canada here. We have an awful lot of migrant farm workers come in seasonally. They come up in the springtime and they work their way firstly one way across the country during planting in spring, and then back the other way of the country when it is packaging and harvesting. And of course, again, we have no idea what kind of weather we are going to get this spring. Last spring was just awful. It was really, really late. I don't think I planted until June the 10th. So as I say, this is an excellent opportunity, an excellent time, and it's an incredibly hopeful thing to do, to get your garden in. I don't know, every time I put a seed in the ground, I feel that little wave of joy that there's something that's going to grow out of that seed, and I am going to be able to eat the produce of that seed. Okay, so let's take a little look around the garden. I mean, there's not that much to see, but we'll sort of talk your way around, and yeah, okay, here we go. So, as you can see, my wood has arrived. I've got part of it stacked in the woodshed, but that will happen this week. And also my worm castings have arrived. That is a great big bale of organic worm castings. And of course, one of the reasons I have to move this wood is because my friend Hugh is showing up with 2 pickup truck loads full of worm composted horse manure, or black gold as he likes to call it. And so I will be all ready to go. As you can see, there is a ton of work to be done. The snow has not quite left. The frost is starting to leave the ground. It's getting kind of soft, and as you can see by the tire tracks and the muck and the mud here. But I am expecting over the next week that this is going to loosen up. The snow will disappear. We've got some rain coming over the weekend, and so that will help get rid of this and pull the frost out of the ground. And then maybe I can go empty this trailer. Anyway, I still have the lower wrap on the greenhouse, and I was just in there a moment ago, and you can't believe the temperature. So nothing happening yet, but the soil is nice and warm, and I do believe the frost is out of the ground here. You can see the strawberries are starting to sprout, and I do believe the grapevines have survived this year. I don't know if you know this or not, but you can scratch the surface along here somewhere with a knife, and if you see a little bit of green under there, you'll know that it is alive and ready to go. Anyway, I'm going to be starting an awful lot of things in here, and as you can see, look at that temperature. Okay, we are at 5 after 4 in the afternoon, and that is 29 degrees centigrade in here. So you can see why the frost is out of the ground in this little area. And I've got both of the windows open here at this end, and the vent at the top is allowing the really hot air at the top to leave, and the screen is down at the other end. So yes, this is the power of a greenhouse, my friends. We're just in the last week of March, and there's no doubt I can start planting in here, and I may do so this weekend. These are the boards for the raised bed that I am going to build down around my asparagus patch, and for any repairs that might need to be done. Anyway, it's looking like the cherry tree did okay, and looks like there's some buds getting ready to come out there. This is one of the things that I am usually concerned about if we start having some early warm weather, is those buds start to come out, and we're still well within frost territory, and in fact there is some snow that is predicted next week. Now this white stuff on here is hardwood ashes. I like to sprinkle some hardwood ashes on the garden during the winter time when I'm burning the wood stove. And as you can see, there is some charcoal in there too. There's always a little bit of charcoal, and that is activated carbon, and that is an incredible decontaminant, a water filter, you name it. So and also, you know, you get the trace minerals from the ash, you know, that came out of the wood and the soil. So it is incredibly good for the garden to do that, just a little bit. And so when your vegetables grow, you will be getting some of those minerals into your body. This, of course, is the new pea trellis, and it's quite a bit higher than the other one. It's about 2 feet higher than the other one. So I'm expecting some really decent produce off this this particular bed. And there is plenty of room there for some onions. Now this is the bed I'm going to rebuild. This is my asparagus bed, and these are all mature asparagus crowns, and boy oh boy do they ever produce. Anyway, the beds don't seem to be looking too bad. They seem to have made it through the winter with not too much damage. But basically what I'm doing this year, what I'm thinking of this year, is that I'm going to turn over most of my beds to root kind of crops. Potatoes, onions, parsnips, turnips, things that keep very well. Lots of onions. Boy oh boy, I'll tell you, you know, if you're eating rice, it's amazing what a difference a couple of fried onions chucked in there will make. It'll just liven up the whole meal. And so I'm thinking of things that can get through the whole winter this year. I'm not sure how these shortages are going to play out, but I do like to eat good, hearty food. Raspberry canes, I'm going to get in there and clean those up. Just maybe nip the tops off them and take out some of the dead ones. The rule of thumb is you remove the 3 largest canes from each plant, and that way you get good renewal. Anyway, this was a heck of a raspberry patch last year. I got a lot of raspberries out of this patch. Now I'm probably going to do something with this bed. It's maybe make it a little bit bigger, that kind of stuff, I'm not sure. And this bed here, I think I'm going to remove all of this soil and just spread it around and refill it with one of my pickup truck loads of worm castings. This has never been a really good producing bed. I don't know why. It was the topsoil that was just lying around underneath it. But I have tried and tried and tried, and everything that grows in here it doesn't seem to grow, it doesn't flourish. So I'm going to clean out all of that topsoil. We'll throw it on the ground here and fill in a few holes. And anyway, regardless of outcomes, I am looking forward to another great gardening season and another great year of tasty food from my own garden. And as I say, one of the things I think is going to be a real test of our society is being bottled up for an extended period of time. We are just at the beginning of this, my friends. People who are in the same apartment for 28 days, nerves are going to get a little bit frayed. And so it's going to be quite tenuous. So doing something like a garden, keeping yourself busy, doing something that is inspiring and hopeful. It's amazing what joy it can bring to grow some of your own foods, even if it's a few herbs in the window. Anything, absolutely anything. So there are so many things swirling around about this issue, this outbreak that's taking place right now in Canada and around the world. It's hard to know how this is going to end up, what this is going to look like in 2, 3, 4, 5 months' time. And so I think that we have to basically steel ourselves, because we are going to be basically the front of the icebreaker in all of this. We are the people who have the most to lose, and we are the people who are least likely to get any assistance, especially people of my age and up. I am 66 this last year, and so we've basically been written off as far as this is concerned. And from what I'm hearing in Italy and in England, people over 65 are not going to get ventilators, they're just going to get medication to ease the pain. So basically, if you are above 65, if you're older than 65, you're on your own. So what's that old saying I heard, was it last year? Thinking for yourself is the new black. Okay, and that's what we're going to have to start doing, is thinking for ourselves, thinking ahead, thinking down the line. And so you need to draw up some kind of a plan, as to what your life is going to look like in the next year, and how you're going to fend for yourself in the worst case scenario. I would certainly highly recommend that you get to know your neighbours. Now, luckily my neighbours here, they used to have a back garden over there, but that could easily be turned into a garden again. But you are going to need to know your neighbour, you're going to need to help each other out. So this is a good time to make friends. Check your resources and keep your hands and your mind busy. Be occupied. Learn how to play a new instrument, read a book, anything. Try and stay away from Facebook and social media and this kind of stuff, because I find it is just nothing but relentless chit-chat backwards and forth about the outbreak, and it just wears a little thin after a while. Yes, I know what's going on. Yes, I know we have to self-isolate, and once you're doing that, well, you've got all the information you need to know. Certainly, maybe every other day updates will be fine with just numbers, who knows, but right now it's like every second of every day, every news show, that's all it talks about. And there's only so much can change in a day. We all know what's going on. So it is nice to get away from that relentless chatter going on in the background. Same with your TV, turn your TV off. Listen to some music. As I say, play an instrument, learn how to play an instrument, get outside, go for a walk. Just because you're self-isolating doesn't mean to say that you cannot go outside for a walk up and down the street. Maybe not in all countries, maybe they've gone to that point, but certainly I can get on my bicycle and ride around. I can walk into the village, I can walk to the shops, and as long as I am within 2 meters of somebody, I think we're going to be okay. And of course where I am has become an epicenter. There is a nursing home here where we have now 2 dead. There were 3 initially confirmed cases, and then that spread to 28 suspected. Now we have 11 confirmed, including 8 staff members at this nursing home. And so I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but we are a very large retirement community, probably 60 to 65%. And so this could be a real issue in my village. And now whether we're going to get cordoned off, but I mean that's a pretty big cluster. I think it's the largest single cluster in Ontario right now. And of course you can see we're in a nursing home or in a prison or any other kind of group home situation where this could absolutely spread like wildfire. Because everyone is in such close contact with each other. Even the nurses have to work side by side, you know, to lift patients, to roll patients, that kind of stuff. I would say it'd be virtually impossible to avoid contagion in a nursing home. So again, who knows where that is going to lead to, and anyway, I'm keeping an open mind. I'm not allowing any one particular narrative grab me right now, and there are a lot of narratives out there. I can assure you, I'm sure that you have seen an awful lot of the narratives that are out there. But I am treating this as a serious situation, and until further information presents itself, and of course the outbreak itself will be the final decider of everything. It will either stop and just go away by itself, or it will continue to tear through society, and we will find out the costs in a year, 2, 3 years time. You know, a lot of this story is going to be written, as much of history is, in hindsight. You know, in 20 to 30 years time, when all of the information, or most of the information, is out on the table. And we know this from the Second World War, First World War, Vietnam War. I'm sure you've seen some of these documentaries, and what a different picture it paints from what people thought was going on at the time. Anyway, stay well, look after yourselves, and plant a garden. So I hope you enjoyed that little walk around, and in the meantime, please, if you'll enjoyed this video, like, comment and subscribe below. And this is Hound Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant afternoon. See you now. Take care. Bye.